Alrighty, y'all. We got a special YouTube exclusive right here. This was one of the only runs that I've done off stream, as I didn't think it was actually going to be that good, and it ended up being my PB up until about yesterday. Now at the time of recording this, my PB is 30. This got pretty dang close, and it was assassins only, which is quite interesting, as I thought this was going to be pretty rough. Basically, just to reiterate what the challenge is, I can only play assassins in this run. If they can't get assassin, I can't pick them up at all. If they can get assassin but don't have it initially, I can pick them up. But by the end of the run, every single person that I have on my team and on my bench must be an assassin. So this was just something fun that I wanted to do in order to kind of gauge the strength of each class individually, and then bring in what I thought was strong from each of them to make the ultimate team. Now, I do think I found the ultimate strategy, which will be in my written guide. I'm actually working on it right now. It's going to be a written guide for all the strategies I've tried for Endless, and kind of some tips and tricks of what characters are good, aren't good, and some strategies that have worked for me, and what I think personally is very bait. That will go out most likely tomorrow. It'll be in the description of my videos, and I will probably put a disclaimer at the start of the video announcing that it is out, and probably a YouTube post as well. Now, I am maybe going to do a members only video explaining in depth that, just because it's going to be more so just talking and explaining each of the things more. But if you want to just read it yourself, then that is available to literally anybody. So that's how I'm going to do it, and hopefully that is okay with you as well. So as you can see here, we have Dragomir in the front line, we have Yuna in the middle, and then Ho Young in the back. I didn't really know the exact positioning to do with this, because they were basically all squishy, if we're being honest. And then the goal was to just eventually get some stealth and just try to beat them before they beat us, as I didn't really have a plan for getting a super front line. Some of you may have noticed that I don't actually have the music going on. I think for these streams that I did, I did about 40 hours of recording / streaming on this game, a lot of which was with the music in the in-game. So I think the best bet is to actually just do the in-game sound plus my voice, and then maybe for the future when I record, I'll try to record it on separate stuff, as I don't actually use the music on stream. I just use that for my videos. However, maybe the in-game sound is good enough on its own. If you prefer the in-game sound, or if you prefer the more chill music, definitely let me know. Now, I really did want to get this because it's just really good if you can proc it often. And I did have a plan to get some rush stuff. However, I felt like it was too expensive in the moment, and I just wanted to get as strong as possible, as soon as possible, because right now, basically every fight was a race against the clock. If I don't beat them fast enough and they get their casts off, I'm most likely just going to lose. If I get my casts off, hopefully they're strong enough to just kill, because I probably won't get a second one. Although that does sound very high risk, I would say it's probably one of the easier strats, as you just go everything that gives a ton of damage and just hope that you win within the rush time. And as you can see right there, the more shards I generate, the more crit and omnivamp my assassins get, meaning, I'll try to win even faster. I did go Vanguard for some health, but I actually have to win this fight first. I did put Dragomir as my 1v1 guy. He has a ton of omnivamp, and he has that scaling from auto attacks and being auto attacked. And I did have to win this round in order to get the Vanguard thing, so it was pretty important that I actually put in a strong unit, and luckily I put in someone that had plenty of omnivamp to be able to get it. And it still was relatively close. If the storm started, which I think it would have started in a couple seconds, it could have got crazy. But we were able to handle business, and then we put a Vanguard glyph on him. Now, ideally, I have all of these little wolves jump on Dragomir, and the frontline stuff go on Dragomir, and I wanted to pull Yuna instead of Ho Young, because Ho Young actually does more damage the farther he shoots, and so if he probably wouldn't have even hit the person that was on top of him, which is not ideal. Now, for most games, you're going to want Collector on Yuna basically every time. However, I wanted the Shadow because I wanted to use the stealth mechanic as often as I could, and there is an item that allows you to do stealth. Obviously, there's a lot of relics that allow assassins to have stealth, but the main priority was to just get stealth as soon as possible on as many people as possible. So if I got the item, I didn't want to have to spend it on Yuna because I would want to put it on someone else as well. And I do want Vanguard on as many people as possible, just because it's a lot of health. And most of these people can benefit from that. I mean, they're all going to be assassins anyways, so the passive that you're seeing from Dragomir doesn't really matter having the glyph or not. But honestly, even putting 2 Vanguard glyphs on Dragomir should get him a ton of HP. And I did want to switch probably to the crit, because all I cared about it was damage at this point. And it would generate a ton of shards, which would make Dragomir give me even more damage, and Omnivamp at the start of combat. Now we're going to try to get our rush triggers even longer at some point, so the main thing is to just try to get the best amount of shard generation we can while still getting as much health as possible. Now we do have enough damage to luckily just take down this boss, and luckily we did get the kill with Ho Young, which gave me 3 extra dollar dues. Now, what will we take here? I was actually really considering this rush upgrade because I really wanted to get some rush upgrades anyways to make Ming my front line in the late game and just have him be invulnerable while I had the assassins in stealth going for it. So I decided to take it just in the hopes that I get some more relics that allow me to extend that duration, just like that walking person you see right there. That's a rush upgrade. Now, whether I buy it or not, yeah, you know we're buying that. Come on now. But yeah, that's the whole idea. So we want to kind of make our first ability count the most, and then hope that our rush duration lasts long enough to get maybe a second ability off. And if they're not dead by then we're screwed. So that's about as crazy as that gets. We did get a couple assassin crests, which are actually good just because they give a pretty fat amount of crit. So other than that, it didn't really matter because we were going all assassins anyways, but we'll take it if we can get it, and we got it. So there it is. So I was deciding if I wanted to put everyone in the back line still, or if I wanted to put someone in the front line so they would stay farther away, as Ho Young does get more gold and I think more damage depending on how far they are. So having someone in the front line, even if they're going to be weaker, is probably better because I do get like probably 3 more shards on the first 1 to 2 kills. And if Dragomir, like he did in this situation, walks up while Zuri's still alive, then they stay there the whole fight and I get a ton of money, which in turn gives me more Omnivamp and more damage. So now Dragomir, I think, is going to be close to starting as my tank, as he is quite strong with the double Vanguard glyph. And I do want to make him a Vanguard at some point, but for now we're just getting the rush, Omnivamp, and crit to try to win the rounds as fast as possible. Now, when you're doing any rush strategy, I recommend always picking up anything that increases the holder specifically's rush. It works with rush items as well. So you just stack all your rush items with your rush extender, and you're going to have quite the strong buff on that one character, especially if you have that person generating any sort of rush triggers like Nyx, or any sort of like Dragomir giving a bunch of shards, or basically any assassin giving a bunch of shards. Now, Golden Standard is pretty insane when it comes to assassins because their whole thing is getting shards. So if you give something that scales with getting shards and then you just get a bazillion shards, then there you go. So now I want to pull Dragomir most likely because he can handle it. He can handle his own. And as you can see, we are doing unreal amounts of damage at this point. So we should be able to win for quite a bit of time. The only downside is we're not going to get that many kills on specific people. So like 1 cast from Dragomir is probably all I'm going to get. 1 cast from Ho Young, probably all I'm going to get. And then, you know, it is what it is. You can't really scale that much if they're all dying instantaneously, is what I'm learning. Now, I'm not a big fan of locking the shop when you have stuff that you can sell that you're not going to be using anyways. I did feel like I had a surplus of items in this game, so I was really considering selling something, most likely a duelist crest or a assassin's crest, but I did decide to get the sentinel plate and then just freeze it. That way I could get the Yuna in the next round. But the only reason that I did that is because I think sentinel plate is completely broken when you don't really have a tank, like, you know, not a super strong tank at least. So since she had no time to scale, like, you know, I got her pretty late and she's only a C tier, then I needed her to survive long enough for my guys to get their casts off, but also for Dragomir to get far enough up for me to get the extra coins. So that was kind of the reasoning behind that. Now, my goal is to obviously just get her upgraded. That way I can put that second sentinel plate on. But getting prepared for that was the goal, and that's why I did that. And then getting Yuna, I might put Yuna in very, very soon, as, I mean, an A tier Yuna's got to be better than a C tier Zuri. Now we're going to go on a little bit of a shopping spree here. We got 50 bucks in the bank. We're trying to obviously upgrade our Zuri, and then we want to just make our Ho Young as strong as possible. I'm not sure why I went this collector. This is one item that I'm not too convinced on. I don't play auto attackers that often, so that's probably why I don't think it's that great. However, I did get the Zuri upgrade, which means that I can put in the Sentinel plate, and I just got way, way stronger in terms of defense. Now, in terms of frontline, I think getting a little more Omnivamp in case Zuri dies, at least for the early Endless, having a ton of Omnivamp on Dragomir not only gives him damage, but will make it so those abilities are giving me full HP instantaneously, which is very important. I was really considering getting the 75 damage just straight up for my second warrior glyph, but I couldn't really afford it this shop, so I was just debating to myself, do I want to buy the Omnivamp and unlock, or what are we thinking? And I think I end up just buying that and going on. I didn't really want to spend the money for the warrior glyph, and it's not like it would be the 25 extra unless they work with each other, but to my knowledge they don't. Now this is really important. Even though those are damage and shard gen, the best thing that I could possibly go is stealth for my entire team, which means that anytime somebody gets low, rather than just being the ones that the mobs are targeting, they're actually just going to go stealth. And then the mobs will switch targets, and hopefully that gives them enough time to at least get an extra cast off or something like that. Now that I have stealth, I'm not really too worried about Zuri. I think, honestly, Dragomir can tank most of the stuff, and then I'll have so much damage that I should be able to just get through the rounds. So as you can see, that worked pretty well. I really think that this active ability starting mana thing is completely broken. So if you ever see that, that's like an SS tier, because starting mana is one of the most important things in terms of Endless. Now, critical defenses is really good. So is critical offensive growth. It really just depends on if you need a front line or if you're just going for full damage. At this point in the game, I felt like I was doing so much damage that I didn't really need defense. I just wanted to try to kill everything before it could kill me. I think Thieves' Dagger is actually really important as well if you're consistently killing with one guy. However, if you've seen these fights, they're literally over in seconds, and whoever's hitting is the people that are killing. That's mostly from the Godspeed Ascension relic being, 4 or 5 seconds. So that's plenty of time for my assassins to kill everybody. But since I couldn't focus on one person specifically getting the kills, then I decided not to go for that. Zuri upgrade, it's whatever. It's okay, but it's not really anything crazy. And then I saw this, which is actually pretty crazy. The backup is actually really good, because Zuri at this point in the game isn't scaled enough to be much of a threat, and I don't know that she ever becomes much of a threat after the first stage and a half anyways. So I decided to just make her like an empowering figure for my team. And giving rush triggers a crit, AD, and AP for my entire team is pretty broken, and that's pretty worth for Zuri as an ability. Now, this is absolutely insane as well. This is one of the most necessary things when it comes to going deep endless, is that relic that I just got. Now, that gives me crit and stealth for all of my team because they're all assassins at the start of every combat. Now, granted, that's also being amplified. So at the start of combat, they're getting 200 crit, 4 seconds of stealth that's already being amplified by, I think, an additional 3 seconds from just one other relic. So 7 seconds of that. And then 4 seconds of 150% basic stats, which obviously is scaling as well with all of the permanent buffs that I'm getting from shard gen or just from all of the different assassin stuff. So when you think about that and the fact that all of those are rushes, meaning that every single time any of those rushes trigger, whether they're a relic, item, anything, that will give you your entire team, thanks to Zuri's passive that I took, it will give your entire team crit, AD, and AP. And that's a 3-second final boss of Endless, or going into Endless. That's probably the fastest I've ever killed them. And I was thinking about going this rush thing once again because it does double up, which is actually really nice. So now the idea in this shop is get anything that seems really good. We really wanted Ming because of the upgrade that makes him invincible, and it also it doubles because it not only does it make it invincible, it also increases the duration of your rushes, which is obviously your generation, which your Godspeed and Ascension. It's also your stealth, your damage, basically everything. You really want that. However, I didn't really want to retrain Ming, so I decided not to go it because I felt like I wanted to get basically something else that would be more beneficial in the moment, because Ming isn't very good if you don't have that invulnerability, in my opinion. Now, we can definitely benefit from if they're all the same class, because the whole point of the challenge is for them all to be the same class. So just taking that, my entire team just got 20% of their stats better, which is very, very OP. Now, I'm definitely going to make enough money for this Yuna. There's no way I'm not going to. So we're going to get her S tier, and that means we're going to have 2 S tiers, 2 A tiers, and we have 2 room, which if you've played Endless, you know that you can get S ranks as like one of your options in Endless, meaning that I can get an S rank of another assassin, and it will actually give me a 3rd assassin that could have some crazy backups. It could be something that I put in instead of Zuri because she's not really doing much for me, and her most beneficial thing to me is a backup effect for the rushes, which means that I can just put whoever I want. Now, I felt like getting damage mattered more than being tanky at this point, as I was really just trying to kill while in stealth. So in order to do that, I just sold my sentinel plates. They got me to Endless. We take those. But at this point, all that matters is killing them before they kill us. And as you can see, one cast from Yuna actually killed everyone. It looked like Ho Young killed them, but as soon as Yuna gets that cast off, it's doing hundreds of thousands of damage, and these fights should be over quite quick. Now, you might think the video is over pretty fast, because you might be like, oh man, there's only 5 minutes left, he probably gets crushed on like day 16. Nah, buddy. For this, I went for the S tier thing. This shows you that you can get it. I think the reason that I didn't get this is because there isn't any other assassins that you can get just like off the rip. I'm pretty sure the main assassins that you can get are all the ones that I actively have. You can get assassin on, for example, Rip, which is the one that I was looking for, but because he could get assassin. So funny enough, I did actually get Rip, and he did get the Vanguard passive, which means that my Dragomir is going to get some more HP, but it doesn't really matter. I would have taken a Ming upgrade as well. Ming would probably have been the best one, but I would have needed him to give me that increased duration. But for now, just because I said that I would, I'm going to reset this because it felt kind of cheesy in the moment to get something that isn't assassin and make that part of the video. And so for that reason, I used my retrain to get rid of the Vanguard skill, even though it would have benefited me at least on my Vanguard, which is Dragomir, and I could have put the Vanguard emblems on different people as well and give them more HP. I don't think it really would have made any difference but it would feel kind of cheesy because he has to be an assassin. So that's the whole point of the video, that's the whole point of the challenge, and that's why we used our retrain on that. Now our Ho Young ability is doing like 230,000, and my Yuna is killing the entire enemy team in one ability. So we are definitely getting the damage done that we want to. Having an extra character in actually was quite good. As you'll see, this character, I don't know if it's because he's an assassin or what, but yeah, he goes quite crazy mode. And wait a second, we got Ming. So Ming's actually good for this Vanguard buff. He isn't an assassin, and I just realized that literally as I'm talking about it. So I mean, gasp, you know what I'm saying? Gasp, I might have messed up the challenge a little bit. But hopefully you can forgive me, as I never play Ming. I'm pretty sure I just kept him on my backup, which obviously is still not an assassin, but it doesn't change too much. I think I got maybe one extra round out of it from Rip being completely broken. At this point, I think I start getting close to not thinking that Dragomir is that good at this point in the game, and I felt like Rip with the Vanguard passive would have been really good. So I think here I do see that Ming is an assassin, and I considered just putting the assassin emblem on him, but I mean, whatever. I feel like that's kind of leaning into it a little bit. But as you can see, Rip is getting quite a bit of HP, and this is without the Ming upgrade. He doesn't have the backup thing anymore. But once you get to around 23, I stopped dealing enough damage to kill. Now, obviously, if you're generating thousands of shards and stuff, you probably could get more. However, I personally didn't have that much damage, so I had to rely on Rip just popping off. But I had around 300,000 HP there, which is quite strong. And like I said, Ming only helps at the start of the combat. Obviously, it helps me from not getting one shot, but he's stealth anyways at the start of the combat, so you know, you be the judge of how important that really was. But either way, I do apologize for putting him in, as that isn't an assassin. I understand that. Now I'm pretty sure that Rip is actually getting all of this attack damage, or all of this HP, from his crit, actually. So his assassin passive, which isn't the thing that I was looking at, this assassin passive, every auto attack is giving me like 600 HP. So when you're auto attacking with 2000 attack speed, you're going to be getting a ton of max HP. And as you can see right here, he is just absolutely handling business, 440,000 HP, and he did win me the fight. Luckily, it didn't really change anything having the Ming. I'm glad I never put him in, but I definitely was considering it there, like right where I was just doing. But then again, it would have lost me the all stuff unless I put the emblem on, and like I said, that was pretty cheese. Now for this upgrade, I was considering the max HP instantly, but then I realized that all of the HP I'm getting is over time, so it wouldn't actually benefit me to have a ton of HP off the rip. It doesn't actually give me any extra damage that's noticeable enough for me to like insta win or anything. So I was basically just playing for the stall, and I was hoping that by the time I went to 50% HP, I would have scaled enough to kind of have like a explosion of damage. Does that work or not? We're gonna have to wait and see, but that was the idea, at least. I had a lot of emblems this game as well, but I was planning the run without taking into account the emblems, because obviously you can't kind of rely on that, and I wanted to make a strategy that most people can do in most of their games, and that just happened to be what I did. Now we do end up losing on 26. Hopefully that exceeds your expectations. At the time of recording this was a 0.8% run, 0.8%, 26 score, and if you want to know why I play on S difficulty rather than SS, check my written guide that comes out tomorrow.